welcome to the Wrestling Academy, a podcast all about wrestling history with no linear timeline or trackable syllabus. So if you're a lifelong fan or you're brand new, this is the podcast for you. I am your headmaster, Michael Classic.
And I am Samee Junio, your Homecoming King, and this right now is Wrestling Academy, Summer School. For the next 7 weeks, we are loosening our ties and letting down our soaking wet hair to break down Season 1 of WWE and MTV's wrestling competition show, Tough Enough, from the year of our Lord, 2001.
That's right. As a vacation from wrestling history, we are going to recap a 23-year-old reality TV show, a piece of history in its own right, some would say.
Some of us would, and some of us would like to put you, Michael, through a table, but we're gonna not do that until we have 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So if you're not watching us, go on over to youtube.com/@Wrestling Academy Pod and follow us because, oh dear, I really do want to put you through a table.
This has been your obsession since I suggested we do it. And
Yep.
and we've come so far. I'm so grateful for every bit of progress we get, but we can't rest until my back is absolutely destroyed. And after getting into Tough Enough and seeing the intense training it takes to be a wrestler, I just was overcome with the fact that this is going to hurt a lot. And I keep just not thinking about it. And I'm constantly reminded the more wrestling we cover, this is going to hurt. I'm going to land on my back and it's going to feel bad.
Look, but you're going to land with a flat back and your arms are going at the same time. And it's kind of like somebody pulled the carpet out from under you.
And I'm going to tuck my chin and I'm not going to hit my head a ton of times. Jokes that will only be funny later in this episode. But Samee, something that's not funny, something that's actually deadly serious, is you and I are trying to solve a mystery. We are still on the hunt for Ween Kid, the mysterious phantom that is lurking in the shadows of Royal Rumble 2008. Me and Samee saw this person lingering in the background, making funny, goofy faces in every single shot of the Royal Rumble 2008, and we thought it was so funny. We have been on a mission to find Ween Kid. That's the only clue we have is they are wearing a yellow t-shirt from the band Ween. If you have any information, any tips, any clues, you can go to any of our social pages, hit us up. We've got pin posts where we break down the whole mystery so far, or you can go to our website, wrestlingacademy.university. That way you can give us a tip or a clue, or you can call the anonymous Ween Kid tip line, and that number is 708-669-4512, because we know Ween Kid's out there, and we're not going to rest until we find them. Even though it's summer school, Ween Kid, we're still coming for you.
We're still clocking in on the hunt for Queen.
But Samee, all that stuff, that's the future. What are we talking about today?
Today, we are breaking down the premiere episode and the second episode of Tough Enough.
This came out in 2001. We were both 13 years old when this came out, and I have never felt more dated in time to just go back and be like, this is where you came from. This is who you were when you were 13. This is what the world looked like when you were 13 years old. It was brutal.
Yeah, it was pretty shameful to just hear how people spoke back then, and then how people carried themselves. And I mean, we'll get into this later, but how unhealed everybody was walking around, like full-grown adults, like no therapy whatsoever. It was really, truly startling.
Tons of hair gel.
Piercing.
Tons of those weird, thick necklaces, too. Oh, yeah, the tongue piercings, those thick, chunky necklaces that everyone was experimenting with in 2001.
Yeah, and unfortunately, some of that fashion is swinging back around right now, but seeing it in context in 2001 should have been enough for the children now to not want to do this.
I agree with you, but hey, lest we sound like we're 1,000 years old, let's keep moving into the episode.
So I found the original trailer that they were airing in 2001, and aside from seeing a mix of superstars, one thing that caught me was this. They said, they'll live together, train together, and suffer together.
That is a huge theme of these especially the first episode, is they really make it clear that they want to hurt these contestants. These
I
people came to the WWF with their dreams of being a wrestler, and every single person, from the judges to the trainers to the producers, are like, we're gonna hurt these kids. We're gonna break them down
like
psychologically.
whose injured ego's idea was it to make it like something that they have to suffer through? Like I understand that it is a hard business to get into.
If you want to have a reality competition where people get to skip the line, but then you want to punish them every single step of the way because your ego won't allow people to have it easier than you, I got a real simple solution. Don't do a fucking reality show. If you
Yeah,
don't want
quit your
people to
job.
if you don't want people to do this, then don't
Yeah.
make it an option. But don't be like, "Hey, we're doing this thing where you can cut the line." I'm sick of all these people cutting the line. And you're like, "Why are you mad? It was your idea."
Yeah, don't do that. Don't give anybody the privilege of doing this if you're gonna be super mad at them for it.
You had a copywriter write out the audition notice. You sent it all over the United States, and then people showed up, and you're mad about it. That's what was happening. But anyway, but Sammy, we're getting ahead
Yeah.
of ourselves here.
So after we just popped off about this, I do want to ask you, do you have any interest in joining the 2001 cast of Tough Enough?
I think if you popped me in right now, even though I'm 15 years older than all the competitors in the show,
You're a little long in the tooth?
I'm a little long in the tooth, as some producers might say. I sincerely believe I could have won Tough Enough season 1 had they cast
Oh,
me. If me
okay.
now were to go back in time with my terrible back, my squeaky knees, I would take these kids to school. I
Okay.
could win. I have what it takes to win Tough Enough season 1. I have not watched the other seasons. I'm sure they're great. Season 1, Headmaster's winning. Headmaster is walking away with this. But let's dive in.
Yeah.
So, episode 1, the casting special, the original air date was June 21st, 2001. And it starts with sort of a sizzle reel where you see a bunch of established WWE superstars who we like. So you got your Kurt Angles, you got the Hardy Boys, you got
Mhm.
China, Chris Jericho, Triple H, all cutting this soliloquy where they lay out the premise of the show, where they're like, have you ever wondered what it takes to be a WWE superstar? Well, we've taken 13 aspiring wrestlers and we're going to like train them in the way that WWE wrestlers learn how to train. And the winner will receive a guaranteed WWE contract.
That's
That is the
huge.
price. The thing that really caught my eye from this opening package was Triple H is doing this weird soliloquy to the side of a van.
That's
And
our
he looks
boy.
at the camera and he's like, we're going to train these wrestlers. And I guess it got me thinking, Sammy, is
Yeah.
there any Attitude Era wrestler that you would want to do to oversee your wrestling training?
Kurt Angle. I think it would be super cool to go into sport mode just like Kurt.
So you're thinking he would give you the secret sauce on how to kick it into sport mode?
Yeah, he's a gold medalist and you always want to be trained by the top guy. How about you?
I think I'd want to get trained by the Big Show.
Uh,
Yeah, you sound disappointed. Why?
Unfortunately, there's only one Big Show memory in my brain right now, and it is his penis in his singlet.
I really let you down because the only knowledge of the Big Show that I passed on to you is when he first debuted, he was wearing bike shorts that were way too tight. And my man, the Big Show, was hanging brain in the late 90s.
Hugely.
But he seems like he would be a nice guy, and he seems like he would be able to pass on the lessons that I would want to learn. The episode kicks off properly when we're into the action. They let us know that over 4,000 people have submitted applications to enter Tough Enough. And the way they did it is they do a 3-minute audition tape and they show a little montage of, again, this is 2001. So people are using the grainiest camcorder footage.
Of course.
And you're just seeing people in unfinished basements flexing with their shirt off and yelling, cutting character promos. It got me thinking, Sammy, if
Go
you
on.
had to submit a 3-minute audition tape to get on
Mhm.
WWE Tough Enough season 1, there were a lot of different genres of audition tape. Would you go the route where you cut a promo and character? Would you do some wrestling moves on a friend, on like maybe some pillows on the ground? Would you flex to the camera and scream? What would be your strategy to try to stand out?
Do you remember when it was Dashing Cody Rhodes, the accompanying video with the theme is like, "Whoa, you're only smoking mirrors," and then Cody's just like turning around smiling.
Okay.
It would be like that vibe, like I believe in Joe Hendry vibes, you know? I would probably never talk to camera. I think I would do a voiceover over myself doing those and then some in-ring work.
I think that's a really great strategy because you're showing your personality. I
Mhm.
personally just don't trust myself in an audition setting, and I really think I would have been one of those maniacs who's just in a basement being like, ah, ah! Like, they cut to at least 100 of those people during that montage. And I wanted to make fun of him, but I was like, nah, that's probably exactly what I would do. I'd be like, wrestling, I'm a wrestler.
Look at me! Choose me!
I want to wrestle. Ah! That's probably what I would end up doing. Yeah. From those 4,000 3-minute audition tapes of people who did basically exactly what I just did, nobody did what Samee did because I think Samee would have won. But from those 4,000 tapes, they take 230 people to come to New York and have a live in-person audition, sort of American Idol style, where they're going to have a
Yeah.
panel of judges. You come through, you show your stuff to them.
Fun fact, American Idol came out the year after this debuted in 2001.
So you're saying American Idol kind of just ripped off Tough Enough,
I
full
think
stop.
I only found that fact out because, you know, in this super montage heavy audition special, casting special, it seems like they were editing a lot of the bad auditions. And so I wanted to see, oh, did they pull this from American Idol where it became the hook of watching the casting or the auditions episodes was to see all of the bad ones. So I wanted to look and found out that Tough Enough was first, which is
Wow.
very interesting to me.
Let's meet some of these contestants, Samee. Did
Let's
anybody
go.
did anybody stick out to you in this sort of getting to know you montage?
One of the first people that they give a little bit more time to is this 22-year-old named Jamie from Tennessee. He's like, "Oh yeah, God sent me here and I'm the wrestling pastor." And I went, "Can I turn this off? Can we cancel summer school?"
What would you do if God spoke to you and told you to audition for something and you didn't get it? So, Sammy's right. We meet Jamie, the 22
Mhm.
year old wrestling pastor. I thought that was fine. I thought that was whatever. But there was one dude who stuck out to me. Is this guy with his name was Dustin. He had the gelled up hair
The
and
flip
just
up.
the deadest eyes I've ever seen. And his very first thing is like, I want to be a WWE wrestler because I want to be a role model to children. And I was immediately like, we need Dustin off the show. We need to get him out of here. He just had an energy and a deadness in his eyes that I just didn't trust. And then they like cut to another interview with him and he's like, yeah, I want to be a role model for kids. I want to go to a children's hospital where they're dying of rare diseases and I want their last wish to be to see me. He's trying to be uplifting. He's trying to say, I want to do the Make-A-Wish. I want to do the charity work. That's not how he said it. He
No.
said it like a psycho.
He said it like this.
Yeah,
I
he
want
said,
a child dying to want to see me last. That's crazy,
I
dude.
want their wish. They could wish for anything, and their wish is for me to walk through that door. Me, Dustin, with my crazy gelled hair and my dead shark eyes.
Look, and this is like we're 3 minutes in. We see the wrestling pastor, we see psychopath Dustin, and I mean just if you're watching along, it's available on Peacock, but just buckle up, y'all, cuz it is a wild ride.
Yeah, it really is a time capsule of where we were at as a nation in 2001.
Yeah, I really don't feel like any of these people were misbehaving in context in 2001.
So it's like we're zooming through the crowd, we're popping out, we're meeting some of the contestants. Then we move into the audition room where we meet our panel of judges, where we have WWE executive Kevin Dunn, the guy who's responsible for there being 9,000 cuts in every single episode of Raw up until very recently. We have WWE talent manager John Gabruick.
Gabru
Get
Gabruig?
Bruick? I don't
He
know.
goes by Big,
He
so
goes by Big, so I'm gonna call him Big, and I'm not gonna attempt his last name again.
cool.
Then on the panel, we also have WWE superstars Al Snow, Taz, and Jacqueline. So, Sammy, we've encountered Al Snow, we've encountered Jacqueline in
Mhm.
Wrestling Academy, in our Wrestling Academy travels. How did it feel to see them out of character and see them as judges?
Al Snow specifically, we've seen him with Head thus
Which is a
far.
mannequin's head that has the word head written on it.
Yeah,
And so he plays a really
he's a
mentally
disturbed
disturbed
guy.
character who
Yeah.
receives messages from Head.
So seeing that it was Al Snow made me a little bit nervous because I'm like, okay, he doesn't have the mannequin with him, but is he still super deranged? And then Jacqueline, you may remember from I think our first episode, she was featured briefly in the 1999 episode of Raw. So it was fun to see diversity on the panel.
Sort of seems like you were positive about Al Snow and Jacqueline. How did you
Yeah.
feel about Taz?
Thus far, in the maybe 5 minutes we're into this episode, neutral.
Sure. I also think he makes it pretty clear immediately that if this were an American Idol style competition, he's going to be kind of the Simon Cowell of the group, where
Yeah.
he's going to be a little bit of a freaking bummer to everybody.
Here's a spoiler alert, everybody. Taz is a real true bummer in this entire show.
Yeah. We're gonna go pretty hard on Taz this episode.
Yeah, so if you're a super hardcore Taz fan, I don't know, skip this one.
Yeah, skip this one. We'll definitely be nicer about Taz later.
For sure, if he behaves. So we cut to Al, and he does a few of these throughout this episode where it's just him and a camera, and the ring is behind him. And he goes, I'm looking for a number of things: an innate charisma and determination, their dedication to this, personality, energy, and then most importantly, I'm looking for a good physique. And they cut to Big talking into a mic, and he's like, tell us your first name and show us your physique, please. And so, Michael, I beg of you, can you please tell us your first name and show us your physique?
I'll do it kind of how 90% of the people did it, where they're like,
Yes.
name's Michael.
Yes. Yes. You're hired.
We start bringing people in for the audition, and the first person we meet is contestant 48. He is a man named Chris. And in his sort of confessional style interview before he walks in, he's like, yeah, I'm from down south. I'm a Christian. I'm trying to walk that path. And I've been tempted to stray a few times, but I always can keep myself on the straight and narrow. So as soon as he says that, we hard cut into the audition room, and we have Jacqueline saying, yeah, so it looks like your arms are pretty good, but why don't you drop your pants so we can see what you're working with your legs? And Chris immediately goes, absolutely. And he drops his pants and starts flexing his legs for everybody. In the span of 30 seconds, he's like, I'm a Christian. Nothing will make me stray from my path. And Jacqueline's basically like, you can be successful if you take off your pants. And he's like, say no more. And then he does it,
Deal.
which is just a crazy overreach of power where it's like, again, I know that they're assessing physique. If a producer tells you to drop your pants to get a job, that's crazy. That's not
Yeah, we're not
cool.
allowed. We're told to not do that, both as producers and as people auditioning. We're not supposed to drop our pants.
Everyone's laughing and
Yeah.
roasting him and making fun of his legs and his physique. And everyone's like, look at this guy's freaking chicken legs.
Well, here,
And
I
he's
feel
like,
like
I came to New York to be a star. And he's taking off his pants.
please, please, gas me. I feel like they were like extra roasting him because he said that he works out 5 times a day, but then he has like the skinniest legs out of everybody that showed up to audition.
He probably misspoke because he's scared because everyone
He's
is scared.
five. It's 5.
I work out 5 times a day. And then he'll be driving home being like, why the hell did I say 5 times a day? That just, Chris, you idiot. That's at least what I would do.
So Chris is saying things that don't make sense. And then contestant number 21 is Nydia, and she is super stoked to be in the ring. She even sings a little bit of Part of Your World because she's so excited. And Taz gets on her case for being out of breath after jump roping for 30 seconds. And she's also not wearing proper footwear. And they go back and forth a little bit. And then Jacqueline hops in on the dog pile and then calls out Nydia's pot belly.
If Nydia has a pot, I would kill for a pot belly like that, if that's what a pot belly is, because she's super in shape. Like, I didn't know what that, like, again, I know it's a panel of bodybuilders talking to somebody.
Here's my one wish, and then I'll ease up on the very 2001 criticism of the show. But I really hope that there's BTS footage of the judges. I would love to see them be like, yeah, we were supposed to be like extra hard on these people. We were told to be this way. WWE, MTV, just I signed a contract. I was supposed to be a jerk, period.
I think Nydia does really well in this
Yeah,
section
I think
because
so too. Yeah.
it seems like most of the people they really put the pressure on crumble or they start
Yeah.
fighting back in a weird way. Whereas I feel like Nydia, it feels like she's part of the gang. So she's
Yeah.
firing back in a way that feels fun. It doesn't feel creepy and aggressive like some other people who kind of
Like
snap.
super defensive. Yeah, 100%.
So as we said, part of the audition process is they do physical tests. So Nydia, it seemed like she had to do some jump roping. Some people, they put a boxing heavy bag in the center of the ring and you just jump side to side over it. And then the other test is you have to run the length from one side of the ring to the other and you have to touch the bottom rope. It's kind of like a shuttle run. So
yeah, but you
they're
crab walk it.
you kind of, you crab walk from one side over as fast as you can. There is this guy who does it. He is a 23-year-old named Robert who slips and falls halfway through his exercise. And he's not sprinting. He's kind of jogging. He's jogging from one side to the other. He just trips and falls over himself and he tumbles. And Taz just starts laying into this dude, being like, you want to be a WWE superstar and you don't have the physical fitness required to do this. Like, what makes you think you can do it? And the guy's like, because I've got a ton of endurance and I've got a ton of, he's like really going through his boilerplate. Like, what is a reality TV thing I can say?
Yeah.
And so he's like, I've got a lot of endurance. And Tess is like, you just fell over running the ropes. Like, you don't have endurance. Like, what are you talking about? And I felt so bad because earlier in the show, they cut to Robert and he's just like, I've been here since 6:30 in the morning and I'm here to try to be the next WWE superstar. And then he gets in there and just takes a tumble and then Taz just starts fucking laying into him.
So at this point, we've seen a couple of the physical fitness tests. We have the crab walk touching the bottom ropes. We have the 30-second jump rope and we have jumping over the body bag. And this audition process is super grueling. And I want to ask you, Michael, would you have tapped out?
I made the prediction at the top of this episode that I feel like I could have won Tough Enough 2001. Hell no, I wouldn't have quit. I may have totally slipped and fallen and eaten shit like Robert did, but I would not have quit. I kept going.
Headmaster is not a quitter. That's what we know.
The location that they chose for this audition is it's called WWF New York, and it is a now defunct restaurant that the WWE created in November of 1999. They closed their doors in 2003, but they basically made their own Hard Rock Cafe, their own Planet Hollywood, but it was WWE themed and it was in Times Square. While they're doing this open audition, the restaurant is just running and people are in, they cut several times to people just eating dinner, watching people getting their dreams crushed right in front of them.
That is honestly one of the wildest things about this is that they had auditions in a restaurant, number one. Number two, they had wrestling auditions in a restaurant. Number three, they had wrestling auditions in a restaurant that was still operational during the auditions. That's so stupid.
And on top of all of that, dude,
what?
they're in Times Square. So you just had to, for probably 12 hours, you just had to hang out in Times Square. That sucks. That would be so frustrating.
I can't believe it.
What a nightmare. And so it did make me think, Sammy, just watch it. Because there were so many people just getting getting just eviscerated by Taz, by Al Snow, by Jacqueline. And then it would just cut to like a family of tourists just cutting into a steak and eating. And I guess I was wondering,
Huh.
Would it hurt your confidence knowing that bored tourists were eating rubbery calamari while you're trying to chase your dreams?
I think because of my personality, I would probably be fueled by the presence of people who I needed to make laugh. How about you?
That would kill me.
Okay.
To do poorly and to know that somebody was eating filet mignon a couple of yards away, I'd be like, "What am I even doing, dude?"
Yeah, no, there's like a sick thing in my brain that's like I need to make some people laugh, so I would definitely try harder, yeah. We cut to Josh, and what's special about Josh is that he flips himself into the ring using the top rope, and one of the judges calls him out immediately, and they're like, we didn't ask you to do that." And Josh, his reaction is so 2001 that I feel like nobody in any other era can do this, but he goes, shrug. He's like, sorry. It's like, I felt that so deeply because I know that I can do that. I can express that one emotion so deeply by doing that.
It is truly the most millennial feeling of just that 90s, like,
Sorry.
whatever. Yeah.
Sorry. And this moment got me so deep because do you remember being younger and rehearsing something over and over and over again to impress somebody? And then you finally get the chance to do it and you do it and you do it perfectly. And the person that you're trying to impress is not there for it at all.
I don't have a specific thing that I did like that, but I definitely remember being in the 8th grade and going to Hot Topic for the first time, and they had those, zipper, a bunch of
Mm
buckles hanging off goth
hmm. Mm
pants, and
hmm.
I saw those and was just like, "This is me. This is the new me." And I convinced my mom to buy the pants. I got invited to a friend's birthday party where we were all gonna go bowling. I brought the pants, and then I went into the bathroom, and I switched into the pants,
Oh
being
my
like,
God.
"I'm about to walk out, and I'm about to become the coolest guy in school." And then I walked out and I was just like, "Hey guys, who's ready to go bowling?" They did not like the pants
Of
and
course not.
they roasted me so hard for so long, for
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
about the pants. And they called me MC Hammer because of
Oh,
my baggy bondage Hot Topic zipper pants. All that to say, yeah, when I was in the bathroom and I was checking myself out in the mirror, I was like,
this is going to be sick.
"Mike, we did it. We finally did it." And then I walked out into like, "Hey, guess what? You're in the real world." It was-
Oh. Oh, that is so painful. We also get some interviews with Josh's parents, and they reveal that once Josh got into wrestling, he actually bought a wrestling ring immediately and put it in his dad's backyard. And his mom, she's super excited for him, but he doesn't think he has that great of a chance of making it because he's small, thanks to you, mom. And according to her, he is not going to be the next stone cold whatever it is.
That's the support system that Josh has. But he walks into this audition and it's so crazy because I think Taz does not like his whatever attitude and just immediately starts going in on Josh. And at a certain point, he's just like, "So you think you've got what it takes to be a superstar? So you're saying you think you're tougher than Al Snow and Taz?" And Josh is kind of like, no, not, I guess. Well, I mean, I guess. "So you don't think that we could hurt you?" And then Josh is like, "No, because you guys are professionals." And I think the thing they're trying to dance around is wrestling is predetermined. So you're not going to actually hurt me for real because that's not the actual job that we're doing. I think everybody wants to keep it in character, keep it in storyline. And so they're basically like, "I hurt people for a living. I could hurt you, Josh. You don't think I could hurt you?" I just don't know what Taz's fucking problem is here.
Taz is an interesting character throughout the show, and definitely in this episode. I really don't understand where he's coming from, and the situation with Josh in particular is truly confusing to me because we can see Josh just like he's meeting some of his heroes. He's clearly a huge wrestling fan. Taz is firing at him, like you said, "Oh, you don't think we could hurt you?" And Josh, being the wrestling fan that he is like, "No, you won't hurt me because you guys are professionals." And then that's just not what Taz wanted to hear. And it's just so mind-boggling. Like, you're right. Like, why are you part of this show if you're just gonna hate everyone for being on the show and then probably will hate them for being on the show? Like, I don't yeah, it's really confusing.
Taz is very upfront with the fact that he never got this opportunity. And so I think in his mind, probably what he wants is just to really impress upon the people that this isn't a joke, this isn't a game. You didn't pay your dues to get here. You are cutting the line. So he wants to give people that reality check. But I personally think he takes it way too far. And I think there's a way to be motivating. There's a way to be tough that isn't what he's doing. And I think it's just a really good look at that old school, early 90s mentality that a lot of
Yeah.
those guys had. And that's just like a real look into what a pressure cooker that locker room was at the time. And I think probably if they were to do Tough Enough now, way different vibes because people want people to succeed. So after this Josh incident, we kind of zoom through. We get a montage of some more aspiring wrestlers.
Contestant number 77, Victoria, tells us that she's down for basically anything. She loves having fun and went to a United Stuntmen's Association training workshop and got set on fire. And she shares with the judges that she used to keep bottle caps in her swimsuit during water polo to cut the other girls because they, quote, couldn't have long nails to cut them. Which is just the craziest fucking vibe and such a weird thing to admit to strangers, let alone to people casting you to be on television. And then, unfortunately, the judges were super impressed by her.
I know. I guess I was also just wondering what the water polo team's deal was to be like, we got to scratch these girls, but they won't let us. So you know
Let's
what we'll
do
do is
bottle
we'll get bottle
caps.
caps. How
That's
how
insane.
much does scratching come into water polo?
A lot, apparently.
Up next, we have Tara, who it seems is like she's fresh out of high school, and she is so nervous, but she is cutting the most tough guy promo I've ever heard. So you get to see this very fun person whose voice is quivering the entire time, being like, I think what the WWE needs is a bitch like me. And you're just like, Tara, do they need somebody like you?
Tara, do you need to catch your breath? Do you need that instead? Also, she says that she goes by Terrible and she leans on the ropes in a moment where it looks like she's gaining confidence. She leans on the ropes during her promo, and then Taz goes, "Get off the ropes," and she like bounces back and then loses all her
Immediately
confidence
retreats
again.
back into her head. She's
Yeah,
like,
it's like, dude, Taz. I don't know what it is. Maybe her cutting the promo really reminded me of when I flopped during the infamous Lucha Bros episode where you put me on the spot to commentate. But I do like her spirit a lot. And Al Snow also expressed that he likes her spirit, but only after saying that she is terrible physically. It's like, oh, she's terrible physically, but she has a good spirit. Like, fuck, dude, what are we doing here?
physique wise, looks like dog shit. But her promo where she was scared the whole time, there's something there. And you're like,
Yeah,
what the fuck are you talking about, dude?
there is something there, I promise. And so we have another contestant, William, and he caught my eye too. So he had an inspiring story about how he wanted to be a role model for his brother and also for himself. And his dad, like, recently passed away, and he kind of just wanted to prove to everybody that he could make it, which was really, really sweet. And also, he was fucking jacked, dude.
Yeah, I was about to say, I didn't catch any of that promo because my man William was carved out of stone. This dude is
Bro.
so jacked.
He is ripped.
I feel like my enthusiasm quickly just crashed and burned because this freaking clown Jason was up next. And he's like this
God.
huge, tall bodybuilder. And his whole interview, his whole audition is basically talking about how he's got a girlfriend and he just loves his girlfriend so much. It cuts to the two of them and they're out to dinner and it's just his girlfriend being like, babe, I love you so much. And instead of him saying, I love you back, it cuts to his confessional and he goes, I love having emotions. I'm saying this right now, Samee.
Mm.
I will eat my freaking hat if Jason makes it on this cast. Jason sucks. We need Jason out of here.
I mean, physique-wise, he looks like a classic
he's huge,
wrestler.
He's jacked. He's got all the tools, but
I think you've got to examine your anti-wife guy stuff. You really have to sit with that. It is a little bit too much, but I wouldn't eat my hat about it. It is also during his audition that we hear the judges ask a pretty invasive audition question, I think. They keep on asking the guys, or at least they keep on cutting to the judges asking only guys if they have girlfriends, which is really weird. Like, bad vibes.
There was also a little bit of like, and clearly you're going to try to bang all the ladies in the house, yeah? And like there was a little element, like they never said it, but they were like, maybe they're trying to be like, okay, is this person here to work? Or are they going to get distracted by whatever? I was about to be like, well, maybe if someone was a little too flirtatious, they wouldn't take him. I was like, that's not true at all. Because they take at least 3 super flirtatious gentlemen coming up soon.
One of the people that they highlighted during this segment was Shadrack McGee. I don't know. I don't love the way that he answered. They're like, do you have a girlfriend? And he says, and they're like, oh, she thinks that you're her boyfriend. It's like,
what a fool to assume that you two are in a relationship. What an idiot.
What is this? And they're like, well, there are gonna be girls in the house.
Bro, you're trying to get a job. Like, why are you saying this?
Yeah. It's oh gosh. Sweaty about it. I'm gonna eat my hat. So we get another Al Snow cutaway, and he's talking about charisma and how it cannot be learned. And we cut to contestant 57.
Mr. Charisma himself. He breezes into this audition in slacks. They're like, all right, do your physical challenge. Hop over this boxing heavy bag. And right before he does, he looks at Jacqueline, shoots her a wink.
Love that.
And then to the point where everybody goes like, whoa. Did you just wink at Jacqueline? And then it cuts to Maven, who's pretty remorseless in his confessional, where he's like, she could say she didn't wink at me, but she winked. Like, we were winking. And
he took the opportunity.
I saw the opportunity. I took it. Like, I've been dreaming of Jacqueline forever. So it just felt so good to do it.
I love that.
He's basically outing himself as being a total hound dog. He's down to flirt should the situation arise. So Maven's kind of a ladies' man as far as we're concerned.
I feel like I would do that. I would pull some Maven level stuff.
So we go from the most charismatic guy in the world, Maven, back to creepy old Dustin, who is out at the audition tables. He just has a crowd of people around him. He's talking about how he almost killed himself, but then Bret the Hitman Hart inspired him to keep going and give wrestling a try. Dustin cannot make it onto this cast. This guy is crazy.
It is such a wild, and he's not even sharing that story in like a private confessional. He's sharing that story in the cameras are in the backstage part collecting footage of all the people, and he's like, yep, I was suicidal. Like,
I got to put my best foot forward here. Hey guys, I almost freaking killed myself. We are then introduced, not in an audition setting, but just hanging out. We are introduced to prospective wrestlers, Stacy from Australia, and then Bobby Joe, and we're introduced to them by a random contestant just trying to guess between the two of them whose breasts are real and whose breasts are fake. And Stacy and Bobby Joe just laugh and go along with it, which is totally insane. And I think just based on the wrestling, the audition, I felt like Stacy was way more promising as a wrestler. But then when Bobby Joe walked into the audition ring, she basically said, my life's goal is to be on Playboy. And I immediately was like, oh, it's 2001. Okay, Bobby Joe's probably going to get this because she said...
Yeah, which is also such a bummer because Stacy says, I sold my car. I used the 10 grand to get over here for this audition. And then Bobby Joe says, oh, my brother's into wrestling. I just rolled out of bed today and got here and just said what I wanted to. Beep.
But it was one of those things where walking in, I was like, okay, I think Australian Stacy's got a really good shot. And then Bobby Joe was like, my life's goal is to be on Playboy. And I was like, okay, well, she's going to fucking get it because that's how the world works right now,
Ugh,
unfortunately.
yeah, and the judges say that Stacy is a little long in the tooth, and I feel like
27-year-old Stacy, long in the tooth. So says the producers. We are then introduced to my personal favorite contestant so far. We have Kenneth, the evil custodian.
dude, his character promo was really incredible, and I watched it a couple of times because if he's not a wrestler right now, hopefully he's a voice actor because it his voice changes and it goes into this like mad scientist, mad custodian, evil custodian voice that was really impressive, I think.
I thought so too. I did think it was really funny because they were just like, okay, so Kenneth, it says here that you're a custodian. Do you like it? He's like, it's not my favorite thing in the world. And they're like, okay, great. So let's go ahead and see your character promo. And he's like, I'm Kenneth, the evil custodian. It was just like, dude, okay. So, I mean, obviously, right, what you know, but he had great presence, I thought. And
He did.
I mean, come on, an evil custodian, that'd be a great wrestler. And
I
physique
know.
wise, I thought he looked great.
Yeah, he wasn't far off from Jason, honestly, visually and in body as well, and physique.
Yeah, and he didn't talk about how much he loves his girlfriend and loves having emotions. So I thought Kenneth was kind of a way better pickup than Jason.
And then we get Daryl, who goes by Moose, and he is 6 feet 7 inches tall.
And I just want to clarify that Daryl goes by Moose, but let's not confuse him with the actual wrestler named Moose, who debuts 11 years from now.
No, and it's definitely not Daryl? Question
It's
mark.
not Daryl. It is not Daryl.
Now we land on a contestant named Tom, whose haunting promo is this: "Look at my body. Isn't it great? I'm so beautiful, so sexy. All the women love me. They can't get enough of me." And after his promo, Taz, off mic, leans over to the other judges and he goes, "I can't wait to get this guy in the ring and break him." And this is the only moment that I agree with Taz.
Tom is giving serious American Psycho vibes. They cut
Yeah,
to
he
his audition
sucks.
tape, and it is just serial killer handy cam footage of him shirtless in a private gym, being like, I've done it all. I've been an actor. I've been
A
a
rock
model.
star.
I'm so immediately creeped out by Tom, and I agree with Samee, who agrees with Taz. I need them to humble this guy. If he makes it on the cast, I need Taz to break this dude.
So we get another Al confessional, and he says that the 30-second character demonstration is for seeing how well the contestants step into another personality and how well they connect with the audience in that personality.
As we're going through this, it seems like people are starting to bring up that they're frustrated that they had to wait or that the audition's going too long. And then at a certain point, Taz just snaps and he goes out into the audition room and just starts yelling at everybody, being like, you all should be so grateful to be here. And I hear everybody in there is complaining and I'm sick of it. So if you aren't having fun or you're mad or you're upset, pack your shit and get out of here. And this has been going on for 12 hours at this point. So he looks and he sees a woman asleep and he gets furious and he goes and he's like clapping in her face and being like, oh, am I boring you? You can get your shit and get out of here too. And it's just a bad look. And then it cuts to an interview with him and he's basically just like, yeah, I am bitter. These kids are getting the opportunity that I never got.
Here's the direct quote because I was so upset by it. He goes, "So if you don't think I'm hostile and bitter about that, and if you don't think that I'm going to exploit that physically on these people and verbally and emotionally, I'm going to break them down." Taz, you gotta fucking relax, dude.
It really does feel like he's punishing them for something he feels about himself. That's really how it's coming across this entire time.
I hope that Taz has gone to therapy since the show aired because it's not a good look, dog.
Up next, we have Ivy League Chris, and he comes out, he's talking about being from Harvard and being Harvard educated, and he immediately rubbed me the wrong way just because I think he's too close to the kind of character I would portray if I were a wrestling character. So I think it was just seeing somebody do your exact gimmick, and you're like, I don't like that. I would have done it better.
Are you Taz of summer school right now?
No, I want everybody to succeed. But if you don't think that I'm gonna make fun of these people every chance I get, yeah,
I'm gonna break him down.
I'm gonna break them down 23 years later. It is a long, grueling day. As we said, they have seen 230 people, but now they have to narrow that from 230 to 25. And so I guess I just wanted to ask you, is anybody standing out at this point? Anybody you're pulling for?
I liked William, obviously, made of stone. Then we have Greg, who is the baseball guy, who actually has like baseball stitches tattooed on his arm. I thought that was really clever. I do like Tara Bull, and unfortunately, I did also like Jason.
You bastard. I had a lot more people that I thought were kind of long shots. So I didn't think that Kenneth the Evil Custodian had any chance of making it, but I
Oh,
was still
really?
pulling for him. Yeah, he just seemed a little too weird. I could see them not going for it. I was pulling for Nydia. I thought she was
Mhm.
great and I thought she
Mhm.
handled herself really well. I was pulling for Australian Stacy,
Oh,
even
yeah,
though
same.
as soon as they put her and Bobby Joe next to each other, I was like, okay, well, Bobby Joe's probably going to get this. But I was mostly like, you can cast anybody, you can cast whoever you want. Please don't let creepy Dustin
Yeah.
through. I
No.
need this guy gone. 10 a.m. the next day, all these people have to show up to Times Square again just to read a printout that's been posted on the door of the
Like high school
WWE,
play style.
but it's on the WWE-themed restaurant in Times Square. They had to come read, see if their name was on the list. And a handful of people make it. Unfortunately, Australian Stacey does not make the cut. They did her so dirty because they cut to her talking to one of the casting directors and she is bawling her eyes out, being like, Bobby Joe does not deserve to be in this competition.
She
She
does
doesn't
not.
know anything about wrestling. She doesn't care at all. She just wants to be a Playboy model and she doesn't like respect this business at all. And I just thought, A, Stacey's telling the truth here. But
She is.
B, they seemed like such good friends yesterday. What happened? What changed? What
This
changed,
isn't
Stacey? It seems like
this
you
isn't
didn't like Bobby Joe at all, but you seemed to love her yesterday.
this isn't friends enough. This is tough enough, Michael.
Fair. And as big of a bummer as it was to see Stacey not advance, it was an even bigger bummer to see fucking wife guy Jason advance into the final 25.
You gotta get off his shoulders, his beautiful, bouldery shoulders, all right?
I'm hard on him because I want to unlock his potential. So the second round is a little more intense. So they're trying to vet people specifically for the reality show part of it. So they have to do a physical, there's going to be a drug screening, and then the MTV producers are going to do a lengthy interview with the people to find out about their life stories.
We get a montage again of all of the interviews, the MTV interviews, and we learn a few facts from some of the contestants. Nydia is a stripper, and at the end of her answer, unprompted, she sticks her tongue out, and we see that she also has a tongue piercing. Good for you, Nydia. Bobby Joe just wanted to have big breasts. Daryl is okay with people not liking him. And Josh, our sweet darling boy, jerks it maybe 4 times a day.
And that also seemed to come up unprompted, where it was just kind of it because again, it's cutting through all these people, and so it's just like, yeah, I actually was a dancer to pay the bills. Like, yeah, I'm okay with people don't like if people don't like me. Then it cuts to Josh. He's like, how many times do I masturbate? And then it cuts to like 4 more people. Then it comes back. He's like, I don't know, probably like 4 times a day. Is that
Is
too
that
much?
too much? So the show will be 3 contestants, 8 men and 5 women. Michael, who do you think made it to the 13 from the 25?
So I guess, Sammy, to answer your question, I was
Shaw.
rooting for like Nydia. I feel like she kind of had the best of both worlds and she had the energy. And frankly, I wasn't rooting for anybody else.
I am standing firmly behind Greg.
I'm rooting for Nydia. You're rooting for Greg. Those are our early picks.
Mhm.
And they have all 25 contestants in the room. And they have Stephanie McMahon Helmsley come out on stage to announce our final 13 contestants. We have, in order, Stone Cold Steve Austin 2.0, Josh. We have, and this pissed me off, wife guy Jason made it through. We have Victoria, the stunt woman.
Uh-huh.
Ladies man Maven. We have Taylor, who I didn't stand out enough in the first 2 episodes for me to come up with a nickname.
I don't know if we saw that person on screen.
After Taylor, no nickname, we have Ivy League Chris.
Mhm.
Then up next, we have Shadrack McGee. No nickname necessary, just a cool name.
Shadrack.
Then we have Playboy model Bobby Joe Anderson.
Mhm.
Pierced ears Chris, the person who Jacqueline told to drop trow immediately, has made it onto the show. Then we have super tall Paulina, who I don't know
Okay.
if we've touched on, but she's like 6'3" and seems cool. Then we have the dancer, Nydia. We have bad boy, Daryl, and then American Psycho Tom. So
Uh,
unfortunately, Samee, your hero, the guy you were rooting for, Greg, he doesn't make it onto the show.
yeah, that's fine, I guess. I'll change my favorite to super tall Paulina.
Everybody like goes home, they get packed. There's like a montage of everybody getting ready. We see them traveling to the house. They arrive to Connecticut, where they're going to be staying in a mansion together. One by one, everybody arrives, but pretty soon everybody realizes there are only 12 contestants who showed up.
Oh my.
And they're realizing that somebody isn't there anymore. So then producer Big, not going to attempt his
Mhm.
last name, he comes out of a Humvee. A Humvee pulls up, the most 2000s era shit possible, just being like, oh, what's cool? A fucking Humvee, dude. So he hops out of a
Yeah.
Humvee and says that unfortunately, American Psycho Tom became uncomfortable with the paperwork and he opted to not take part in the show, which I took as code, wildly speculating here. I took as code as he failed the drug test. And,
Sure.
and they
I
got him off the
think
show.
that that would be that would make sense because he's, his body, ladies love it, and I'm assuming that maybe
Anabolic steroids also
yeah,
love it.
100%. Yeah.
Ladies and gear love his body.
That's a fucking dirty gack. Let's go.
They need 13 people to do the competition. So
Uh-oh.
they went to one of their alternates, and Baseball Greg joins the cast.
Let's go, baseball Greg. We did it.
And then the producers let them in to the most 2000s era mansion I've ever seen, where it's crazy because they're being led into a mansion, and I was overwhelmed with the fact that this mansion seems like it kind of sucks.
Oh my god.
Did you not think it was a shitty mansion? Did you think how'd you feel about the mansion, Sammy?
I didn't have any like immediate thoughts because they immediately say that the house has been around for a long time and it was used for the Underground Railroad. So I didn't have any time to make any other conclusions about the house and that it sucked, Michael.
I watch a lot of the traders, and I'm just saying I would rather train to be a wrestler in the traders mansion than this lackluster man 2000s era mansion that the Tough Enough crew gets.
It deserves our respect, Big says, and I feel like it deserves our respect now.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm sorry. Okay. So then this is where Big lays out the game. They will have 9 weeks of wrestling training to train to be WWE wrestlers. And through that, they will make cuts based on performance until there is one winner in the men's track, one winner in the women's track.
And it's a 24-hour alert before they make the cut. So they'll tell the contestants the day before, like somebody's getting cut tomorrow, and then that is apparently supposed to light fire in their asses.
I think speaking to the shabby mansion that they're being asked to stay in, everybody doesn't get their own individual room, unlike the
Mm-mm.
traders where they do. In this piss poor mansion, everybody's given a roommate. And I guess I just wanted to know, Sammy, were there any contestants that you would want to bunk with? And any contestants that you absolutely are like, I do not want to bunk with this person?
I would bunk with Victoria or Paulina, and I would avoid Daryl, Josh, and Chris.
I think looking at this list, I would bunk with Shadrick. He seems cool. Ivy League, Chris seems all right. That is how we end episode 1, the casting special. Were you surprised at who made it through, or did you think this was like a pretty solid group?
I was surprised. I'm still surprised that Australian Stacy didn't make it.
I think if she had auditioned in later seasons, she probably would have had a pretty good shot. She was a victim of the times, I think.
William being missing from this final 13 kind of bummed me out.
Yeah, I think for me, the only thing that I picked up on is that I just knew that Greg was probably going to make it onto the show because they did so many sit down interviews with him that I was like, oh, he absolutely is going to get on the show. So when I saw him not get cast, I was just like, okay, does somebody get like injured day 1 and they bring
Sure.
in Greg later? And then I think overall, I wasn't really surprised by any of the picks. I thought everybody was good. I mean, even the people I've been giving a hard time, I was like, yeah, they've definitely got the look and the screen presence. I totally get why they all got cast. I personally just think that there were better picks out there and they really slept on a bunch of options for, whatever reasons they chose.
So now we're on episode 2, Down and Dirty, with the original air date of June 28th, 2001.
We start in the drab, crappy 2000s era mansion that all the Tough Enough crew are going to be bunking in. It was just them going about their morning routine. And I just completely forgot that 2000s era phenomenon where we didn't all have smartphones and there was a communal computer in the living
Yeah.
room that all of the contestants had to gather around to check their email or whatever the hell we all used to do.
I'm just thinking about Josh. For some reason, I'm cornering Josh for being the one that got like caught watching porn on this communal computer.
Wait, do you think he did?
I mean, he's jerking it 4 times a day.
Yeah, you're right. And that's a pretty dicey proposition because they have that computer pretty centrally located. When we were all 13 with our family computers, we all had to pull off some dangerous missions, you know what I mean, in order to
Yeah, and we did. We
and we
did.
did. And so I'm just saying, like, look, Josh, I wish you the best of luck. It's going to be difficult. So, yeah, we're cutting around. We're seeing everybody doing their daily routine. But then there's a big hiccup because bad boy Daryl got sick on the flight over. And so he's really kind of in a bad mood because they're about to start training. But he's got this cold or this flu or something.
He's really laying into a baby on the plane for getting him sick. And spoiler alert, Daryl doesn't seem to have the best character to the point where he mentions this sick baby so much that I'm not convinced the baby even exists.
From this mansion that's doing its best, we go to the training facility that they're going to be using called Tracks. And this is where we meet the trainers. So we've got Al Snow. He was a judge. He's back to be a trainer. We've got Jacqueline, who says to the cast she prefers going by Miss Jackie. So that's what we'll call her. And then we have WWE superstar Tori joining the crew as a trainer.
Do you miss Taz?
I think Al Snow, Miss Jackie, and Tori, their energy was exactly what I personally would need to do my training, where they were like, they're gonna be tough, they're gonna give it to you straight, but they're at the end of the day, they're motivating and they want you to succeed. And I really felt like Al, Miss Jackie, and Tori they seemed very welcoming and very warm. So I was not missing Taz at all.
They start to it, they do a little bit of an athletic boot camp type thing, and then they get into the ring to do some very basic day one stuff, which is flat back bumps, the building block of wrestling training. Al, Tori, and Miss Jackie lay down the law and remind everyone, probably repeatedly, that they are in charge of their own body and also their opponent's bodies. As they're training and stuff, we cut to Daryl, and he's kind of side-eyeing Chris because Chris did say that he was in wrestling school for I don't know, like a couple months.
Ivy League Chris has 3 months of wrestling training, and that was a big thing during his audition. They're like, if we have to deprogram you,
Yeah,
are you okay with that?
deprogram.
And he
Guys,
was
relax.
like, yeah, of course. And it's basically like, oh, he took like 3 months of wrestling classes, and it's like, so if we have you do the same drills again, are you okay with it? It's like, yeah, absolutely, I'm okay
You
with
gotta
that.
learn the WWE way. Daryl is taking in consideration that Chris is above everyone else at this point.
When they're doing the flat back bumps, I would say Ivy League Chris is good at it.
Yeah.
So it's like he has clearly practiced this and he knows what he's doing.
Bad boy Daryl is not really catching on to it very well, and he's like, oh yeah, I need to catch up to Chris.
I would say as bad as things are for Daryl, they're even worse for stunt woman Victoria, who she keeps forgetting to tuck her chin, and so she is just landing on her head over and over and over again. It's brutal to watch.
Here's where I want to call bullshit on stunt woman Victoria and her stunt experience is when they're in the car, she says to the people that she, I think, fell out of a window and also went on fire. And this fire story she's repeating all of the time. She only went to a workshop and got set on fire, which I feel is correct. But the other stunt, I'm like, dude, you're lying. And the fact that she can't tuck her chin, that's literally your job.
So after they do their wrestling training at Tracks, they take them all to WWE headquarters, which has a gym built into the building. Samee, how did you enjoy this gym?
I enjoyed it very much. There were neon light tubes everywhere, and it kind of felt like a 90s mall, which was super fun. And I did notice that Daryl managed to do this like physical exertion while keeping a knit hat on the entire time, which I don't know, maybe is because he's sick from a baby that he has to keep it on his head or something. But
He could have just
it was
been
a
so
choice.
freezing cold that he just had to keep a knit beanie on.
And back home after the gym, Daryl does mention the baby again in great detail, like
Because he like
sneezing,
calls home.
coughing.
That he calls home and is basically just like, yeah, training is so rough. I got sick from this baby, and he like won't let it go.
He cannot let it go. And I think that this is just kind of a peek into his character where the world happens to him, you know?
Day 2, we're back at tracks. We're doing some more wrestling exercises. They're learning how to lock up. They're doing more flat back bumps. Victoria seems to have gotten worse, and she has not learned anything, and she is smashing her head so fucking hard on the mat.
Yeah.
It hurts to watch.
I was really almost inspired to try flat back bumping in my house, but I only have wood floors, so I didn't do it. But it's just so confusing to me that Victoria is a stunt person. She wears her hair in a ponytail, which is a good, like, physical indicator that you're not supposed to hit the ground with your head and you're still doing it second day. It's wild to me. Anyways, Chris gets caught by Tori trying to spread a different way of training, and he gets immediately scolded. Then Al gets on all fours and demonstrates what kind of looks like a cartoon goof 'em up where he gets on all fours and he's behind the contestants, and then Tori or Miss Jackie just pushes the contestant over him. So it's like that classic prank where somebody's like, "Ah, push him over," and then they're supposed to flat back bump during these.
Without landing on Al. So it's just like
Yeah.
we're escalating what you're learning here. We head back to WWE headquarters for more working out, and then there's a surprise pop in from Stephanie McMahon, and she gets flirted with by ladies man Maven. They have a little moment on the Stairmaster, but Stephanie's real goal in showing up was she wants to take stunt woman Victoria aside to give her some encouragement about stuntwoman Victoria's perceived lack of progress on her flatback bumps. And there's like a really nice moment where Stephanie's like, I had the exact same issue you had when I was first getting started. And I was exactly where you are. And I got really frustrated. Samee, I guess this really made me wonder, would you cry on a reality TV show?
Yeah.
Because I think as soon as Stephanie was like, hey, I've been there too, Victoria immediately was like, yeah, because it's just like really hard. I just like don't get it. Like, would
Yeah.
you cry? Would you do that? Would that be
Yeah.
you?
I'm a water sign. Would you?
Yeah, I probably would. I think I'd like to think I'd be tough, but I know myself, and I just know that if I hit my head 4 times, I would probably cry unprompted. If somebody was like, "Yeah, it probably hurt really bad when you hit your head 4 times," I'd be like, "It
It
did.
does.
It really did."
Every time. I can't learn.
So, like, they go to this restaurant, and I personally just loved it because wife guy Jason, to keep his impressive physique, has to eat a very particular diet. But every time he was trying to be like, "What's the biggest steak you have?" That he was talking to a waiter who couldn't have given less of a fuck, being like, "It's like a regular sized steak, man." He's like, "Okay, what about baked potatoes?" He's like, "We don't have those, man." And you just got to watch him like really try to have this
Crumble.
like bodybuilder meal, and the guy's like, "We're a pub. What are you? We don't do any of that."
Yeah.
So then day 4, they're not scheduled to train. Everybody is waiting for some much needed R&R. And then that son of a bitch, Taz, shows
Taz.
up uninvited, throws the doors open, goes into everybody's room where they're sleeping, and he's yelling at them to get downstairs. And he's so mad at people taking their time. People have like made their beds to be nice. He rips the sheets off the bed. And it was at this point I did a little bit of research to see, was Taz going through a divorce? Like, what was going on with Taz at this time? Why is he being so aggressive on these kids? Results inconclusive. Apparently, he's been happily married this entire time. He's only been married the one time.
I don't understand the thinking of don't make your bed. Like, what? What do you mean don't make your fucking bed? Taz? What the hell? He's like, do you think you're better than me? You think you're better than me? I don't make my bed. Don't make your bed.
The fact that you're insulted by people making their bed is insane. The reason Taz has come barging in everybody's room is he's got a surprise physical challenge for the contestants. He takes them to a farm where there's just a mud pit, and they all have to mud wrestle, and that's the physical challenge.
He phrases it as a protect the cone challenge. And here are the rules. One person protects the cone, and the other person will try to get past the first person. You start in a lock-up position. no punching, no kicking, no eye gouging, no hair pulling, and quote, here's a little wrinkle in your game plan. It's all done on your knees. Whose fucking game plan, Taz? What are you doing here, dog? To add insult to injury, I guess, Taz made them all wear white shirts and pants over their clothes.
Just so you could see exactly how muddy that they get. It's pretty crazy. You're just watching people Greco-Roman wrestle each other in the mud. And during the mud wrestling, super tall Paulina, she hits her knee and is forced to sit out.
And Jason also gets a knee injury, but definitely not as bad as Paulina because she gets walked off like a hero.
There's this thing that is in the Peacock version. I don't know if it's in other versions
Uh-huh.
where they just have a camera that's called exclusive footage. And it just seems like an uninterrupted random camera cut.
Yep.
And it's in these two exclusive footages that it really seems like Taz is kind of out of character, and he seems a little bit bummed out that he made everybody mud wrestle. Like, maybe I'm projecting, but it really just feels like in the exclusive footage, you can just see him being a little bit like, oh, man, fuck, two people got like knee injuries doing this shit. Like, this is so stupid. Why
Yeah.
did I make everybody mud wrestle?
I just can't believe it. And at the end of the challenge, Taz and Big insist. They say this 6, 7, 8 times. And they're like, if you have any cuts, you have to wash them immediately. If there was any truer sign of an idea being very, very bad, it's how many times you have to repeat to people, oh, if you have cuts, you have to wash them immediately.
But Taz is not done with the contestants yet, Samee, because
Oh my God.
military style, he hops on the back of the Humvee and he makes them all jog home behind the car while he
God.
yells at them for doing so.
Which is funny because I don't remember if it's an exclusive footage clip or not, but before they cut to them behind the Humvee, I think Taz is like, "Oh, it's just gonna be like a light jog. You don't sprint, you don't run." So it's just like it's not walking and it's not running.
But when it cuts to the non-exclusive footage, it is a lot of
Oh,
like, pick up your fucking feet, like, run, run, run. Like, he is yelling at people. Daryl is over it. He's walking and you
yeah.
can just hear Taz yelling at him. Taz is on his ass.
Here's what Taz is yelling. He's like, "You want to be a big WWE superstar, but you want to lag your ass behind because you ain't got no respect for yourself or for our company? Don't look at me with that hard look, or I'll get off this car and whoop your ass. Try me, Daryl. Think you're a badass? You can't even run a mile. You ain't shit. How would you like to sit at home in a nice plush house that MTV gave you and just sit back and drink some lemonade?" Period. End shouts. What?
Taz has fucking lost it, dude. Taz has lost his goddamn mind.
He lost the messaging at the end there. It's like, well,
Yeah,
how would you like it?
yeah, Taz, I would love to be drinking lemonade right now as opposed to whatever's happening right here. I think this criticism, everything, it's really gotten to Daryl. And because it showed him in the gym. I mean, that freaking baby got him so sick and it's made training impossible for him. But at this point, he is fully, unironically kicking rocks, kicking dirt, being like, "Ugh, and he's like kicking stuff while he's supposed to be running. And it's just the most histrionic, fit meltdown that I've seen where you're just like, Daryl, you are coming across like the villain right now. This is not going to end well for you.
You're 6'7", you're over 300 pounds, and you're kicking rocks?
You're kicking rocks and mad at a baby. That's like where you're at mentally right now. The contestants, they come home, they lick their wounds. And I think this is where the specter of doubt starts to creep into a lot of people's minds. And for the first time, I think the contestants earnestly wonder, are they tough enough? That is the end of episode 2. Are there any people who are standing out to you in a positive or a negative way? People you're rooting for or people you're rooting against?
Always behind Baseball Greg. Maven looked really cool during the mud wrestling. Paulina is near and dear to me. Negatively, Daryl, Victoria, Chris, Josh, just because they're creeps.
Wait,
How about you?
which Chris? There are 2 Chris's.
Drop your pants, Chris.
Because I was like, yeah, I thought Ivy League Chris he's doing fine. And I'm still rooting for Nydia. I think she's got what it takes. And I think, honestly, when they were at the restaurant and Jason couldn't get the order that he wanted, that really humanized him to me.
Him
And
being
so
starved.
Yeah, or just being like, okay, so this guy doesn't get everything he wants. Okay, that's that he's human. Okay, I feel okay rooting for him. I think that's fine.
We're at the end of episodes 1 and 2. Do you think you're still tough enough after seeing the mud wrestling?
I still am supremely confident that I could win Tough Enough. 2001.
Well, we have 6 more weeks of this for you to prove that you are tough enough verbally from your safe position behind a microphone in 2024.
I get to be a dreamer 23 years later, being like, yeah, I could probably do that. So we just want to thank you for listening to Wrestling Academy, hosted, produced, and edited by me, Michael Classic, and you, Samee Junio. You can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube at Wrestling Academy Pod. You can send us an email at wrestlingacademypod@gmail.com.
Follow, rate, and leave a positive review wherever you get your podcasts. But check out Spotify, where we have Q&As or polls for every episode. I will set every Q&A on every episode during summer school to be, what do you want us to cover in season 2 of Wrestling Academy? Will we take your advice? I don't know. If you have any information on Ween Kid, please go to our website, wrestlingacademy.university, to send in an anonymous tip, or call the Ween Kid tip line and leave us a voicemail at 708-669-4512. That's summer school, baby.
Tough Enough.
Ah!